When a woman likes you, she rarely makes a grand declaration. She's not going to stand in the middle of a room and shout it. And yet, if you're paying attention, she's telling you, loudly, just not in words. See, that's the thing most men miss. Because we've been conditioned to look for overt signs, for the obvious, I like you, messages, we often miss the quiet signals, the ones hidden in the unspoken gestures, the tiny recalibrations in her behavior, the fleeting glances and the slight changes in tone. But this is how many women speak when they're attracted and unsure. It's not a game, it's a language. The human brain is wired to protect itself. And when feelings begin to emerge, especially feelings that make us vulnerable, our defense mechanisms kick in. For women, this often means showing rather than saying. Imagine this: a woman who's typically reserved starts laughing more when you speak. She remembers something small you told her weeks ago. She slightly tilts her body toward you in conversation, mimicking your movements without realizing it. Not coincidence. That psychological alignment, a subconscious attempt at emotional closeness. Her body is speaking what her mind is afraid to verbalize. Now, none of this should be confused with manipulation or playing hard to get. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about sincerity. Veiled sincerity. There's a big difference. A woman who likes you but is unsure of how you feel, or afraid of being hurt, will often communicate affection in micro behaviors. She'll listen differently. She'll show up for you in ways that seem insignificant on the surface but are deeply intentional. She might not say, "I care about you," but she'll stay on the phone longer. She'll respond quickly to your messages. She'll share parts of herself that are normally hidden from others. And this is where emotional intelligence becomes everything, because a man who isn't emotionally attuned will miss these cues. He'll mistake her curiosity for friendliness, her attentiveness for politeness, and then he'll tell himself, she's probably not interested, and move on. But the truth is, women often feel more than they allow themselves to show, and if she senses that you're blind to her signals, she won't push, she'll withdraw. Not because she stopped liking you, because she no longer feels safe revealing herself. This is why awareness matters. It's not just about reading her signals. It's about honoring them. When a woman gives you her attention, when she subtly shifts her rhythm to match yours, when she laughs more around you or gently teases you. It's not random. Those are invitations to lean in, to reciprocate, to build something real. And if you respond with clarity, with steadiness, she'll begin to feel more secure. That security gives her the space to become more open, more expressive. It's not about chasing her. It's about creating an environment where she doesn't have to hide her affection anymore. Let's take this a layer deeper. Philosophically, the feminine energy often seeks resonance, not dominance, not conquest. Resonance. That means she's looking to feel seen and mirrored in a way that feels safe. And the way she tests for that safety isn't with direct questioning. It's through presence. Through the way she places herself near you, through how often she engages with you, through the light touch on the arm, the smile held half a second too long. These are not accidents. These are forms of emotional signaling that speak louder than confession ever could. It's easy to overlook this when you're distracted by the surface. Physical attraction, witty conversation, or bold personalities often steal the spotlight. But underneath, there's a different story unfolding. A quiet narrative of subtle affection. And the woman who likes you but doesn't know how you feel. She's not waiting for a grand gesture. She's waiting for a sign that you see her too. That you've picked up on the small things. You've noticed how she started to prioritize you in quiet ways. What Jessica Opare speaks to so often, and so insightfully, is men who want real connection need to learn how to tune into this frequency. You don't need to be a mind reader. You just need to slow down, observe, and value the understated ways women show interest. Because once you begin to recognize these signals, you stop fumbling in the dark. You begin responding in ways that create trust, not tension. And that's where everything begins to change. So the next time a woman adjusts her schedule for you, replies with warmth and consistency, or gives you the kind of laughter that feels a little more personal, don't dismiss it. Don't label it as coincidence. See it for what it is, a door slightly ajar. A chance to step in, gently but intentionally. That's how love begins. Not always with fireworks, but with attention, emotional literacy, with the courage to speak the language that doesn't use words. And here's the truth that wraps it all together. Real connection is born not from what is said loudly, but from what is felt quietly. So start listening, not just with your ears, but with your presence. That's where everything changes. It's a paradox we don't talk about enough. A woman can deeply like you, think about you constantly, even imagine a future with you, and still pull back, still hesitate, still act like nothing's there. Not because she's playing games, and not because she's not interested, but because fear has taken the front seat. And when fear is in control, love becomes cautious. Every gesture becomes calculated. Every word is weighed. And if you're not paying close attention, you'll mistake that fear for disinterest, when in reality, it's the very thing proving how much she cares. We have to understand that women don't fall in love in a vacuum. They fall in love within a context, within a lifetime of cultural messaging, personal experiences, unspoken expectations. From a young age, many women are taught to be careful with their emotions, to not be too forward, to wait, to let the man lead. Even in today's world of supposed equality, those internalized messages haven't vanished. They've just evolved. And so even when a woman feels the spark, the butterflies, the real emotional pull, she holds back. Not because she wants to, but because she's been taught to protect herself at all costs. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It looks like her second-guessing herself before sending that text. It looks like her deleting a message 3 times before hitting send. It looks like her going cold after a moment of warmth. Not because her feelings changed, because she realized how exposed she just was. And that exposure, that's the danger zone. That's the place where hope and heartbreak live side by side. And for someone who has been hurt before, or even just seen others be hurt, that's a place she may want to avoid at all costs. Here's what's really important to understand. Women often express interest not through bold declarations, but through gentle invitations. Through her openness, her attention, her willingness to let you into her world little by little. And when fear is involved, those invitations are carefully crafted. She might not come out and say, "I want you to be part of my life." But she'll show you subtly. She'll share personal stories. She'll ask questions that go beyond surface level. She'll make herself available in small but meaningful ways. That's her version of vulnerability. It's her way of reaching out, without exposing herself fully. The mistake many men make is assuming that if she's interested, she'll say it directly. That's not always how it works. For many women, directness feels risky. What if he doesn't feel the same way? What if he pulls away? If she's left feeling foolish, or worse, or rejected? These aren't just theoretical concerns. They're emotional landmines, ones that she's constantly navigating. And so instead of taking the leap, she drops hints. She creates space for you to step in. She waits to see how you'll respond. And this is where your role becomes critical. Because if you meet her subtle openness with indifference, if you overlook her carefully chosen words or her nervous laughter, she'll take that as a sign to retreat. Not because she's giving up, because her fear is louder than her hope. She'll convince herself that she imagined the connection, that she misread your signals, and she'll close that door. Not because it wasn't real, but because it didn't feel safe enough to continue. We live in a world that praises emotional boldness, punishes women for being too emotional. And that contradiction is exhausting. That's why so many women sit in that quiet tension between what they feel and what they show. Between the desire to be seen and the fear of being misunderstood. Jessica Opare speaks powerfully to this inner conflict. The way women often want to reach out, to express love, to say, "I'm here and I care," but hold back out of self-protection. And the result is that the man, unless he's emotionally aware, never gets the full picture. He walks away thinking she wasn't interested, when in reality she was just scared. So what do you do with that knowledge? You don't force her to confess her feelings. You don't pressure her to. Just say it. What you do is create the emotional conditions where her fear doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room. You show consistency. You show presence. You show her that she's not risking everything by being real with you. Because when a woman feels emotionally safe, she opens. She stops editing herself. She stops watching every word. She starts to show up in a way that is full and honest and deeply beautiful. This isn't about rescuing her. It's not about playing therapist or trying to fix her insecurities. It's about being a grounded man who understands that real connection isn't built on pressure. It's built on patience, on trust, on the subtle, daily demonstrations of care that show her, "You're safe here. You don't have to hide." That's when the walls come down. That's when love becomes real, not just potential. So if you're dealing with a woman who seems warm one moment and distant the next, don't assume she's playing games. Look deeper. Ask yourself, what might she be afraid of? What message have my actions sent so far? Am I giving her reasons to open up or reasons to retreat? Because fear doesn't mean she's not interested. Often, it means she's incredibly interested, but unsure if it's safe to be vulnerable. And your presence, your emotional intelligence, your ability to create a space where she can simply be, without fear, without judgment, that's what makes all the difference. In the end, it's not always about how much she likes you. It's about how much she feels she can trust you with that truth. Give her that, and you won't need to ask what she feels. You'll see it. You'll feel it, and you'll realizing when fear fades, love finally speaks. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is give someone else permission to be brave. It's easy to get distracted by dramatic gestures, the big cinematic moments. Someone rushing through an airport, confessing their love in the rain, or boldly declaring their feelings over a candlelit dinner. Those are the moments we're conditioned to expect when someone truly cares. But in real life, especially when a woman likes you but is afraid to show it, love doesn't always show up like that. It shows up in consistency. Quiet, subtle, steady consistency. And if you're not emotionally attuned, you'll miss it. A woman who likes you, truly likes you, but isn't ready to verbalize it will still find ways to show up, not in flashy, dramatic ways, but in repeated patterns of presence. She's the one who always checks in after a long day, who remembers your schedule and asks how that meeting went, who listens closely, not because she's nosy, but because she cares. Her affection is disguised as reliability. It's not loud, but it's loyal. And that loyalty, that's her hidden confession. This is where many men fall into the trap of confusion. They wait for words. Clear, direct words, to confirm whether or not a woman is interested. If you're only tuned into what she says and not how she behaves, you'll overlook the truth right in front of you. Because the truth is, when a woman consistently prioritizes you, you matter to her. When she carves out time, when she remembers the details you've forgotten you shared, when she's emotionally available even in small doses, that's intentional. That's interest. That's her way of saying, I'm here. I see you. I care. It's worth asking, why is consistency such a powerful signal? Because it requires intention. Anyone can perform a single act of kindness or flirtation. To be consistent, that requires thought, energy, emotional bandwidth. And more importantly, it requires a level of emotional safety and emotional investment. A woman who keeps showing up, especially when she doesn't have to, is making a choice. Every time. That's not just affection. That's commitment in its early form. Now, what's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is that this consistency is often underestimated. Because it's not dramatic, because it doesn't demand attention, it often fades into the background. But philosophically, this is one of the deepest forms of affection. Love isn't just something you feel, it's something you choose. And when someone chooses to keep showing up for you, day after day, even in small ways, that's love in motion, not just emotion. Jessica Opare speaks to this so elegantly. How modern relationships often get caught up in spectacle. Real connection is built on presence. The woman who consistently supports you isn't doing it because she's bored or has nothing better to do. She's doing it because something in her sees value in you. Maybe she doesn't feel safe enough to say it outright. Maybe she's still watching how you respond. Maybe she's been burned before, but still she shows up. Still she stays. That's her language. And the more emotionally aware you are, the more fluently you'll begin to understand it. And make no mistake, consistency is not just about her actions. It's also about the way she makes you feel. Safe, seen, valued. A woman who likes you but is scared to show it won't just compliment you once and vanish. She'll plant seeds. She'll create small rituals. Maybe a morning message, a shared playlist, a running inside joke. And those rituals become a rhythm. A quiet reminder that you matter. That you're not just a passing thought, but a priority. The challenge for men is to recognize these signs for what they are, and to respond with the same level of integrity. Not to exploit it, not to ignore it, to meet it with steadiness. Because if a woman's quiet loyalty is met with emotional ambiguity or inconsistency, she'll retreat. Not because her feelings disappeared, but because she realized they weren't being honored. She needs to see that the space she's slowly creating with you is being nurtured, not taken for granted. So how do you honor this consistency? You start by matching it. You become reliable in return. You notice her efforts, and you name them. You don't wait for a grand confession. You recognize that love has already started to reveal itself through her presence. And you protect that presence. You don't play with it. You build with it. Because the truth is, what you're experiencing in those consistent actions is not hesitation. It's trust being offered in installments. And here's the deeper, more philosophical pointing: the women who show up consistently, even when they're scared, are doing something incredibly brave. They're saying, I don't know what this is yet. I don't know how it will end, but I'm willing to risk showing up for you in the meantime. That's courage. That's vulnerability wearing armor. And if you're wise, you won't wait for her to spell it out in words. You'll understand that in a world full of distractions, someone choosing to be consistent with you is one of the loudest declarations of affection there is. So stop waiting for the dramatic moment. Attention to the everyday ones. That message she sends just to check in. That way she remembers your favorite song. That smile that lingers a little longer. Steady presence, even when she's tired, even when life is chaotic. That's her way of loving you quietly. And the truth is, the ones who love quietly are often the ones who love the hardest. Because real love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just keeps showing up. And in that quiet consistency, you'll find the kind of devotion that doesn't need to be spoken to be real. Ask ChatGPT,